Good morning, everybody. I'm Sue Barlow. As Michelle said, the Programme Manager for School Swimming. What we are looking to go through as part of this WebEx is to refresh the understanding of the national curriculum requirements. So what is schools and providers going to deliver as part of that swimming and water safety? To introduce the School Swimming and Water Safety Charter and look at some of the resources available within it and how to use it to improve the quality and achievements of the national curriculum requirements. Okay, so obviously we all have an input into school swimming lessons, and hopefully we all know why school swimming is important. And we must think about this, it's often the one and only opportunity that all children are going to learn to swim. School swimming and water safety is part of the national curriculum. All pupils attend school, hopefully. So again, you know, this is the one and only opportunity that we can get those children in the water, to get them learning to swim and to be safe in and around water as well. And it's likely that children who don't learn to swim during school swimmings will never learn this life-saving skill. So again, it's important that we do capture every child. Looking at the Active Lives survey, it does state that 77% of all children can swim the minimum of 25 metres. So we've still got a long way to go, with 23% of children not being able to swim. So again, it's how do we capture those children? But most importantly, looking at the figure of 42%, how it drops for children from the least affluent families. So again, these are the children that are probably never going to be active, not just in swimming, but in any sport. So again, it's how do we make sure that we're capturing those children within school swimming and getting them to be able to swim and knowing and understanding those life-saving skills. So we all know school swimming and water safety is part of the physical education curriculum. So we're just going to have a look at what the aims of the PE to ensure pupils are developing. So it's developing competence to excel in a broad range of physical activities. So how can we include this in our swimming programme? And it's about introducing other aquatic disciplines. So it may be water polo, it may be synchronised swimming, it could be rookie lifeguard. So it's how do we include those within that swimming lesson? It may be just as a warm-up activity, or it may be as a contrasting activity. That pupils are physically active for sustained periods of time. Again, we want these children to be in the water for as long as possible. Time is precious within school swimming. And what the government is saying is that pupils have got to be active for at least 80% of a lesson. So it's how do we develop a swimming programme, our lesson plans, to be actually get those children in the pool and being physically active. Engaging competitive sports and activities. Again, it's how do we actually incorporate those into a lesson, and it may be something that you do already. It may be that it's an individual competition, so the pupils are competing within themselves and hopefully going above and beyond what they do. So it may be, for instance, a simple push and glide. It's how far do they go next time. So that's the bare minimum that we're looking for. And again, lead healthy, active lives. I mean, how does that incorporate into that swimming programme? And what we want them to do is have fun, enjoy it, be challenged, make progress. So hopefully the pupils can go away from that swimming lesson and want to come back again and again. And then it may be that they still continue into adult life as well. So what does the curriculum say? Hopefully, we all know what the three requirements are for swimming and water safety. So the first one, swim competently, confidently and proficiently over a distance of at least 25 metres. everybody who asks about what children have got to do seem to know the 25 metres, but they do forget the other two. Now, it is rather important that we start doing these, and you'll see why a bit later on in the webinar. So perform safe self-rescue in different water-based situations and use a range of strokes effectively. Now, as part of the Department of Education information, that's the only information that they do give to schools, to leisure providers, or anybody that's actually delivering school swimming. So as part of the curriculum swim group that's been working with the Department of Education, they have put a little bit more information around those requirements. So what does actually perform safe self-rescue mean? What would it be those pupils to do is have a knowledge and understanding of the water safety key messages. Now, these messages used to be known as a safe code. Well, this has disappeared now, and the new 4 key water safety messages are: always swim in a safe place, always swim in an adult, if you fall in, float, breathe and relax, and if someone else is in trouble, call 999 112. Again, this is actually depending on the environment as well, so there isn't information that needs to be going under each of those bullet points. So we need those pupils as well to know how and when to use appropriate survival and safe rescue skills. So it's not about just about performing those skills, it's know how and when to use them if they unintentionally fall into water. And it could be any body of water, so it could be the canal, where they maybe pass on the way to school, it could be river, it could be reservoir, so it's about every open water environment. And not understanding of local and national water hazards, so that goes in part of the bullet point above. And knowledge of what to do if others get into trouble. Again, it's about keeping themselves safe. So it's not about jumping in and rescuing people. It's about what they need to do if others do get into trouble, about calling the emergency services. So using a range of strokes effectively. So it's about giving pupils an opportunity to experience both alternating and simultaneous strokes. And then it's about the pupils making choices about the strokes they use to achieve different outcomes. So if we have an outcome of, for instance, treading water, what part of that stroke would they be able to use, choose which stroke they will be able to use, which is going to be an effective outcome. So it could be breaststroke legs to do the treading water. And it's about adapting the strokes to a range of purpose and intended outcomes. So it could be if you want to play a game of mini polo, how could they adapt that front crawl to be able to play that game of water polo? And again, strokes do not have to be perfect. They have to be effective for that intended outcome. So it's how their pupils being able to perform that skill or that stroke effectively. So what does this swimming at least 25 metres mean? Obviously, we need a swim of a continuous swim of more than 25 metres to ensure those pupils are reaching that minimum requirement. Strokes are strong at the end of the swim as at the start. So we want to see a competent, confident stroke all the way through that 25-metre swim. Part of the swim should be completed in deep water. So we are ensuring that pupil is confident being able to swim in deep water and in shallow water. And strokes recognisable to an informed onlooker. So what we're looking at these strokes, they are recognised strokes, not technically correct strokes. So as long as that stroke looks like a front crawl or a breaststroke, backstroke, then yes, they can achieve that criteria. So just going through all the information that we've just gone through. Our School Swimming website, you can use this to provide more information of everything that we've just spoke about. So again, the importance of learning to swim at school, the School Swimming and Water Safety Charter, the national campaigns that we run, why does your child learn to swim at school, and curriculum swimming and water safety resource packs. So these packs have actually been developed through the Curriculum Stream Group on behalf of the Department of Education, and these are free resources that can be downloaded, which target student teachers, schools, lesson providers, parents, and also water safety information. So there is lots of information on that website that you can refer back to just to get updated information regarding school swimming and water safety. So what we're going to look at now is what influences a great school swimming programme. So I'm just going to hand it over now to Mandy, who's going to take you through this part of the webinar.
Thanks, Sue. So a while back, when we first started looking at refreshing the School Swimming and Water Safety Charter, we spent some time to look at what we considered would make a great school swimming programme. And in essence, it takes on 3 key areas, really. Can you change the slide, please, Sue? Ah, yes. Sorry, that's my fault. No, that's fine. What we'd like you to do now is to unmute your microphones, and for a few minutes we would like to hear what your challenges are within your programme currently. So feel free to just chip in. I will leave it open to you guys. Anybody brave enough to say anything? Come on, Di, you must have to say.
I'll speak, yeah, I'll speak. I think for us, we about 3 or 4 years ago, we moved over to a 2-week intensive programme for school swimming, and that did make a dramatic difference with the results that we were getting through. What I find, what's the biggest frustration is the buy-in from schools. You know, I'm quite confident that we're delivering a good programme here, but I find it quite frustrating that schools still don't buy in 100%. Has got better, now they have to publicise the results, but I think it's frustrating that they still look at it as, you know, we'll send these kids just so they can have a go, you know. So I do find that element of it quite frustrating.
Yeah, that's one of the key areas that we came up with as well. We'll go on to that in a little bit more detail. So anybody else?
Hi, it's Colette. Just in with what Di has just said, I've noticed a big change for coming in September in terms of the children that are being sent back to swimming now, because they have to report on their attainment. Then we are getting now the older children back to finalise and hopefully get them through the curriculum. So I'm seeing a big change this year.
Oh, that's, in some ways, that's good actually, isn't it? Because
no, it is good. It is good.
It means that the schools are beginning to understand a little bit more.
Yeah, and the other one is recognising with the school which is the best age group for them to bring that will benefit them.
Yeah.
You know, sort of, we have some that bring year 3, which we have quite a good pass rate, but really if they brought them in year 4, it would be better. And it's getting them to understand that and, you know, sort of adapt their curriculum so they can bring them in year 4 instead of year 3 maybe.
Yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, it would be great to get every year group going for the complete year, but, you know, we don't live in an ideal world, do we, sadly?
No, we have that with one school, and I have to admit, we probably get by year 6 the odd one that doesn't pass. Everybody else does.
That's brilliant, isn't it? That's just brilliant. So basically, what we're saying. Sorry, thanks, Sue. These are some of the areas that we've come across as we've been going around the country talking to lesson providers and talking to schools. A lot of the challenges are there's an inconsistency with the assessment of lessons. The cost of transport is huge. Training opportunities for school teachers and CPDs and such for swimming teachers. There's various delivery options, like Di said there. They're running a 2-week programme. I'd be interested to know how that's going actually. So we'll chat about that a little bit later. Water space available, the cost, time out of school, parental support is a biggie, and the main one for me is communication. So looking at that, so can you change the slide to the next one, please? Yeah, thank you. looking at that, we came up with these 3 key areas that we feel if we can get these 3 key areas right, then we have a good chance of actually affecting have a very positive impact on school swimming. The first one is lesson providers. So lesson providers need to be looking at what can we do to make schools' life easier. We know how busy schools are and all of the hassle that they have with virtually every subject that they've got. So if we can make the school's life easier by including some of their key subjects within swimming potentially, or can we get the children that are there to be there for longer, so it reduces, you take 2 classes, one in the water, one dry side. Can we be using other areas of the centre to do different areas of the curriculum? Can lesson providers go into the schools to do assemblies, to do gifts, to hand out the awards and that sort of stuff? At the same time, that's hitting the parents as well and re-emphasising the importance of learning to swim, whether it's at school or whether it's in the evenings, in the regular swimming lessons. The next and one of the most important, crucial areas is the swimming teachers themselves, because as you guys, I'm a swimming teacher as well. If I don't understand what the national curriculum is, I'm going to carry on teaching the same way I always have done, and not really understand where the schools are coming from and what their challenges are. So we need the swimming teachers to be as up to date as we can possibly get them. We need them to be looking at what they're delivering and understanding that actually school swimming isn't about perfect technique. It's about keeping these children safe and getting them to be able to get themselves out of trouble. God forbid they ever get into that position. And the last key area, as we've said before, is schools themselves. There are some great schools out there. There are a lot of great schools out there, but there are still some schools that tend to think that swimming is a pain in the neck. We have to take the children out for a whole morning. It takes up a lot of time. If we can get them to be taking a more active role within their swimming lesson and understand the importance and the benefits of it, then the chances are that the children in the water are going to get a much better experience. So everything to do with school swimming, swimming teaching, it should be swimmer focused. It's not about what's right for the school teachers or the head teachers, it's what's right for those children in the water. Now, one of the areas that we could have a massive impact on school swimming is to reduce the teacher-pupil ratio. Now, by doing that, it's not easy. We can either employ more level 2 teachers, which is not cost effective for the majority of schools to be able to do that. But if we can get the school teachers and the people that come with the schools to be qualified through the National Curriculum Training Programme, then the potential is that they can work under the guidance of a level 2 teacher and actually reduce the numbers within your school swimming programme. So the chances are that you'll be able to get those children to achieve a lot more than if the teachers just came in and sat on the side and weren't actually an active part. So those are the 3 key areas. And the key to making all of this happen, the one thing that is going to make all of this happen, is communication. We need all of those 3 key people, key areas, to be talking together. How can we help you at the school? What do you need from us? What can you do as a lesson provider? For me as a school, as a swimming teacher, what can I do to help your children to achieve what they're achieving in the classroom, but also to get them to be able to be safe in and around water? That's ultimately what we're trying to achieve with the School Swimming and Water Safety Charter. So, looking at this in more detail, it's basically a partnership. I'm taking it you've all heard of the School Swimming and Water Safety Charter, rather than just a yes in the box would be great, please. Or open your mic and just say yes, whichever's easiest. I'm taking it that you do, yeah?
Hi, Amanda. Yes, it's Di. I have, definitely.
Yeah, I should hope so. No, that's great. Well, in essence, what the School Swimming and Water Safety Charter is a partnership between schools and lesson providers with us in the background as a support as and when needed. Like it says on the slide, it's a structured teaching programme that meets the government criteria. Included within it is a pathway of progressive awards, which we'll come on to in a little bit more detail. And we're recommending really that any school delivering curriculum swimming takes notice of this. There is so much information there for them to access. It's a great resource for them. Next slide, please, Sue. Sue? Anybody there? Yes, thank you. This is a problem when Sue's in Yorkshire and I'm in Loughborough. So, looking at the awards, currently there are six core awards that take the children right from just being able to get into the water through to being able to complete all of the 3 outcomes for the national curriculum. What I'm liking about this is even the children that we all know will never hit the national curriculum within a 6-10 week programme, they can still be recognised for what they have achieved. And I think that is just, it's one of the most important things. And within this, they develop crucial basic water safety skills. So it's a really important set of awards. There's also 2 additional awards that link into safe self-rescue. Next slide, please, Sue. And also the aquatic skills for the children that are way, way above the national curriculum standards. Additional to that, we have the PIN badge. Now, this one is for children that hit all of the 3 outcomes. And it's just an opportunity. This is a brand new part of the awards that we brought in with this with the charter this time around. And it recognises that they have achieved to a high level. Looking at part of the charter, there's an awful lot, there is a cost to schools, but what you've seen there, the certificates are a part of it, but there's also downloadable resources that are available not only to schools but also to lesson providers as well. So there's just lesson plans, as you can see there. There's guidance documents delivering the lesson. Oh, that's an interesting one. One of the best things here are the letters that are available to parents, and there's also letters that are available to the children. So once one of the children has gained an award, they have a letter to say, well done, this is what you're looking at next. But it tells the parents as well. One of the things that we want to really enhance and really develop here are the additional resources, the downloadable resources, and the games and activities, for schools. These can be used as either homework sheets or they can be used in the classroom, and it brings water safety into the classroom. So it's not just about work in the pool. We're wanting schools to really look at how can they develop a dry side session to look at safety, water safety as well. And obviously the downloadable, as I say, the certificates now are downloadable free to schools as part of the membership. So looking at it in more detail, so you can see there the cost for schools is £30 plus VAT per year, and that is worked out at £36. But what they get for that is the certificates are free of charge. They get 70 sets of passports that you see in the photograph there. They get 70 sets of stickers. They get 35 PIN badges, and they get a set of laminated guidance cards, syllabus cards. That's great. That's what the cost covers. But in addition to that, they get access to a download resource area. There is so much information up there. There's as much information as we could possibly think of to put up there. So lesson plans, scheme of work, guidance documents, cross-curricular work. There are access to digital digital access, so banners and email and logos and things like that. There's so much stuff, and it's not static. This is what it is today, and already Sue and I are looking at what else we can add into that, which we may go into if we've got time at the end. There is so much information in there. So looking in a little bit more detail, it's available, it's aimed at Key Stages 1 and 2, so 5 to 11 years. What we've done now is to clearly align the awards to the Learn to Swim framework. So any of you that are using the Swim England programme in your regular lessons, it's now aligned far more closely to the Learn to Swim programme than it's been before. The whole idea of school swimming is to teach children to be able to keep themselves safe. So safe self-rescue is a massive, massive part. It is a huge part of this. So this is why we're not looking for perfect strokes. We're not looking at perfect technique. We're looking at technique that is strong enough to get them out of difficulty. And you'll find all the way through the programme that safe self-rescue is embedded right the way through. And obviously there are additional awards to help children exceed what they're doing already. So looking at where it aligns to the Learn to Swim framework, in reality, if they've got Award 6, they'll have done easily a minimum of 25 metres. So you could say that they would be at a higher stage than stage 4. But what they haven't done, keeping in mind that school swimming is based around water safety, safe self-rescue, it's not based around technique. They won't have picked up all of the skills that are needed from stage 1 right the way through. So we're suggesting that if they've done Award 6 in the school swimming programme, they can probably fit in fairly well into a stage 4 class. But if you get parents that are complaining that they should be higher, the answer to that is they won't have completed the technique skills and the technical skills and the other skills that are needed to make them competent swimmers. And that, in essence, is what we're trying to do with the whole of the programme, is to say to parents that they should carry on swimming. They don't stop your regular lessons just because you go to school swimming, because you're learning a lot more detail in your regular lessons. And what we've seen also is within the Learn to Swim, no, it's not Learn to Swim, School Swimming and Water Safety programme, by the time they finished their Award 6, they will easily have exceeded the standards expected by the Department for Education. Like I said earlier, what's really crucial to the success of this are lesson providers and swimming teachers. They're absolutely key to this success. And this is why Stu and I are doing what we're doing, to try and help lesson providers and help swimming teachers to really get behind this and to really emphasise the importance of these children getting the best opportunities that they can possibly get. Next one, please, Sue. So I'm going to pass back now to Sue, who will take you through some of the charter resources.
Hi, hello guys. Just before we start on this section, has anybody got any questions regarding the School Swimming Charter that Mandy's gone through? You can either unmute your microphone or use the chat box.
Hiya, Sue, it's Di. I've got a question. Just wondering if anybody's come across it really. I've spoken about the charter to a number of schools that we deliver swimming to, and the biggest thing that comes back is that they can't understand why they should be signing into it when they're paying us to deliver on their behalf, if you know what I mean. So I'm just wondering how people convince the schools to sign in.
Hi, Di, it's Colette. I found exactly the same, in that because what we provide to our schools, we already provide certificates and feedback, and they know what's involved in the lessons. You know, signing up to something that's going to cost them £30 for them, their view is that, you know, sort of we don't need to do it because we already get everything we need. So whilst we've signed up to it and we advertise to the schools that we've signed up to it, we've got no chance of getting a school to sign up to it.
Exactly the same for us, yeah, exactly the same.
One of the things that Sue and I have been doing, and we're going to be doing more of, is to be working with the active partnerships, used to be called CSPs, to put on school swimming, I don't know, road shows, events, I don't know what you would call them, where we try and get in front of the schools that are working with you to really emphasise the importance of this and to really say, you know, I mean, I've done some in Leicester. I've been working with Leicester on this, and they've taken on the charter, and we're getting their schools together to say, this is what we're doing as a lesson provider, this is what we're doing here, this is why the charter is important to you, this is why school swimming is really important, and really emphasising the partnership side of things. I mean, Di, I've got a Tees Active. Is that you guys up there?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, we've had, I think, Sue, we've had an email wanting some support from the active partnerships up there as well. So we may be able to have a more direct impact on that. What other centres have done, what other lesson providers have done, is to actually buy the charter for their schools, but include it within their fees, their annual fees. Works out at about £1 extra per week, depending on how long they swim, obviously. So that may be another opportunity. For me, it's not just having access to the awards, it's having access to all of the resources. One thing I forgot to say is another part of the membership that you as lesson providers have, but also that schools have within their membership, is access to webinars like this, which we'll do on a regular basis. There's newsletters, there's a point of contact. In fact, Sue and I are on the phone quite a lot to schools that have come back and said, can you help? We've got this issue, that issue. Anything else you can think of, Sue, that we can do to help?
Yeah.
Sue, you're muted.
So, Bobby, did you want to ask a question before I answer that one?
I think it's more of we're kind of having the same thing with schools. We deliver to about 50 schools a week at the moment, and all of our schools have been written to about the charter. We've sent out the charter letter from the resources and everything, and like Alan recently fed back, like not a single one of our schools has signed up for the charter. So we were hoping to try and sort of put a plan in place to try and sort of target them individually, because when we are communicating with schools, it just varies so much from school to school who we're talking to. Very rarely you get someone who is actually coming to any school swimming, or a PE coordinator. Sometimes it's office staff who are simply saying, we just do the bookings and that's it. So I think the communication is definitely our biggest challenge.
Absolutely. I mean, what we're trying to do with the School Swimming Charter, the way we've done it, is to try and get schools to take school swimming more seriously. So they take an onus on for school swimming as well. And I know that they come to the leisure provider and they actually deliver that school swimming. It's about getting those schools to actually take it seriously. It is a national curriculum subject, so they should be actually taking that with a bit more interest. So that's one of the reasons why we did it this way. The other thing is as well is a lot of providers have been working with their schools, and they've actually bought it on behalf of their schools. So they've either put the cost of the charter into the school swimming programme and done it that way. So that's one way that you could actually, try and get those schools to take it on board. The other way is we have worked with a number of leisure providers and come in and done some work with schools as well to actually try and get them on board as well. So there is all sorts that we're trying to do, but I do know the frustration because you will have schools that will sign up straight away, no problem, they get it, but you do have the schools that like to just come for 6 weeks, so you do struggle to get them to sign up. So it's how can we help you as well about that communication.
Yeah, for us, obviously, particularly at one site where we have, on average, about 26 schools a week swimming at that one site, they get all of their pool time for free. So it's difficult for us to then say we'll also purchase the charter resources because we actually make very minimum amount of profit on actually just the teacher hire because that's the only thing we charge for as well. So it's trying to engage with those schools in another way without having that incentive, unfortunately.
Yes, and again, if you have issues like that, you do want to speak to us, then we are welcome to come and meet with you, work with you. Just give us an email, but the email will be on the slide when we come to the end.
Yeah, thank you.
Bobby, I think one of our colleagues is due to come and do some work with you at some point on school swimming. Ruth Edwards?
Yeah, I had spoken to Alan about potentially setting something up. So obviously, I know I haven't met Ruth yet since she's been in post.
Yeah.
About putting something together because we, at particularly one of the centres where we have a huge amount of school swimming per week, we've got a group of teachers that would really benefit from, having a good update on resources that we're going to be using from September.
Yeah, well, Ruth is going to be coming and doing that, but one of the things that we could also look at, which I'm also doing, like I said, with Leicester and with another company, is to do that and do some work with you, with your staff, but then also to set up as a schools meeting as well. So getting the message over to the schools, those 26 schools, if we can get the representatives from there, and if we can get the key decision makers there, that would be better. So we can actually go through exactly why school swimming is so important and explain the charter in a lot more detail. So, that's something that we're more than happy to work with you to make that happen, if that's of value as well.
Yeah, that would be great.
Great. We'll get that sorted for you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's fantastic. Anybody else got any questions or?
Hello, it's Madeline. I'm just wondering how close we are to actually getting swimming made compulsory across the primary schools. I know that the national curriculum, the wording of it, for one of the schools we've got, they just do it in year 5 because they know that they've ticked a box. I'm wondering how close we are to getting the government to put it in as a compulsory subject in every year group.
We do work closely with Department of Education, but at the moment they're not changing the wording that they use for national curriculum, school swimming and water safety. So I can't see it being changed in the near future. But like I say, we do work closely with them. We give them the issues, but again, it does take time with working with government, which I'm sure you know.
Yeah. Thank you.
So sorry, I can't answer that in any more detail. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's just trying to convince the heads because they will just do anything just to tick the box, so they don't have to do it.
Absolutely.
The battle we're having at the moment is getting schools in. They're buying into the minimum, bare minimum they possibly can, and trying to promote it is you're just banging your head against a brick wall.
And this is why it's really so important that we try and work together. Going back to that three-pronged approach, we need to be doing things differently. My viewpoint is those children that have died over the last few weeks. if they had had the opportunity to learn at school how to be safe, then the chances are, if the only thing that they learned was to be able to float on their back, then the chances are they'd still be alive. And I think this is the sort of information that we need to be getting over to schools. Is yes, it takes a lot of time out of your day, but it is so important, and I know I'm biased, but it's so important that we actually get these children to be able to do what they what we're trying to get them to do in order to stop them from dying. And I know that sounds a little bit dramatic, but it is the truth. You know, we as an industry need to be ensuring that these kids have the skills to keep themselves safe. Now, for me, head teachers should be buying into that. And if I don't know what the answer is, I wish I did. If we can get in front of the schools and the head teachers to actually get that message over, then fantastic. It's the message we're trying to get out to DE, DFE and to government and to governors and anybody who will listen. We have to make a difference. We have to change things, and that takes the government's input as well. How we do that is, that's where the challenge is, isn't it, really?
Okay, thank you for that. We'll move on, and what we're to look at now is using the School Swimming Charter resources. What we want to look at as well is, obviously we've been through the physical education aims and how we can actually incorporate those into the swimming lesson. But when we actually develop the school swimming programme and the lesson plans or the schemes of work, it's just that we just need to keep these in mind as well. So it's not just about teaching swimming and water safety, but how can we meet the aims of the PE curriculum as well. So one of the resources is, obviously we've got the awards, and I've just put for an example of the School Swimming Awards one up there. Obviously you can see those outcomes, and I'm sure you've seen them before. But what we can actually provide as well to help swimming teachers deliver these awards is we've got example lesson plans. So if you just bear with me, I am just going to share with you a lesson plan, which hopefully you've seen these before. You can see that this is a School Swimming Award 1, but within the actual delivery of it, you can see now how they've got developed the activities so that all the pupils are engaged in the water at the same time. So obviously the warm-up where they've got all pupils together in a circle, performing different activities to meet the aims of the national curriculum, PE, and also to meet the aims of that lesson as well. So it's just how we can help you develop those lessons to ensure that you're meeting every aim of the outcome as well as the physical education aims. So the next one what we've looked at is School Swimming Award 4. So this is sort of an higher award where we're starting to look at travelling 10 metres, looking at push and glide, so we're looking at streamlining. But again, how can you develop that lesson plan to help you meet those aims of the curriculum, the PE curriculum, whilst again meeting the aims of the Award 4. And again, we've got the lesson plans for that one, which I will share with you now. So again, example lesson plan, this is for A. We do have a couple in this section. So again, you can see that what we've got is different activities that's going to meet those criteria, that all pupils are being active. And I think this is one of the most important things that we've got to do. As we say, maybe schools only take those pupils for 6-10 weeks. So we've got to use that pool space and that time as effectively as possible. So it's how do we get those pupils in the water all of the time. And again, push and glide challenge. All pupils are in the water together. It could be that they're working in pairs, in groups. So again, you know, they are doing actually communication skills as well with each other. So it's bringing those other curriculum aspects into that swimming lesson. curriculum. Now, we do have lesson plans for each award. Like I say, they are example lesson plans. So, you know, you can use them, you can amend them, you can adapt them to suit your needs. But again, it's just giving you those examples of what we've put out there to hopefully meet the outcomes of the awards and meet the aims of the PE curriculum as well. So what we're going to go on to now is looking at how the outcomes of the School Swimming Awards meet the outcomes of the Safe Self Rescue. Manda, do you want to take over from this?
So, looking at the awards, we can't put many awards in, so we've just done 2. As we've said right the way through, Safe Self Rescue is absolutely key to school swimming. And you could say that in every single one of these outcomes is you could link back to Safe Self Rescue. But looking specifically on this one, the ones that are directly linked are enter the water safely, give examples of 2 pool rules, recognise and identify the purpose of beach flags, and to obviously exit the water safely. So some of these, I mean, the pool rules and the beach flags could be done in the classroom. They could be done as part of your lessons, making it a game. You know, kick to the other side. Show me which flag would you go to that says you're safe to swim. Let's see long stretch legs. You know, that sort of thing. So it can be included within your regular lessons as well. On the next one, which is the award 4, the key ones on here are jump into water, submerge, surface and swim back to the point. Obviously that's fairly understandable. Perform a sequence of changing shapes whilst floating on the surface. Well, the key obviously there is getting them to understand about floating and the fact that if you hit cold water it is going to knock your breath away, so float to regain your breathing. Push and glide on the front with arms extended, roll onto the back. So if they're getting tired out while they're swimming and they need to take a rest and float on the back, they can do. Travel 5 meters on the front, perform a tuck to rotate onto the back and return to the side. Obviously they're learning there, even if their stroke is not brilliant, it's sort of life-saving survival stroke. Obviously, the travel 10 metres front and back, that goes without saying. Perform a shout and signal rescue and exit the water without using the steps. So there's a lot there that can be linked back. And our job as swimming teachers is to try and link that back as much as we possibly can to Safe Self Rescue and how that helps to keep them safe. What we've done also to try and really emphasise the Safe Self Rescues, within the assessment sheets themselves, we've highlighted in blue, you see there, the skills that are directly linked to Safe Self Rescue. We're also looking at the potential for developing the Safe Self Rescue area, because the children, it's all very well doing the Safe Self Rescue Award, but we're saying that needs to be done without buoyancy equipment. What we're looking at potentially is how can we do something for the children that, like we said earlier, may never get to the point within their school swimming session that they will hit those 3 outcomes. They still need to understand how to keep themselves safe. So a future development we're looking at potentially is to how we can recognise that and how we can support that.
Just one thing as well to go, just regarding the Safe Self Rescue, is when you're teaching one of the outcomes of the awards and it is linked to the Safe Self Rescue, it's getting those swimming teachers to actually tell the children why they're doing it, why it's linked back to Safe Self Rescue, so they have got a knowledge and understanding of that skill and how it is linked to Safe Self Rescue, so where they would use that skill, when they would use that skill. So again, it's like embedded all the way through, like Manda did say.
Brilliant. I'm going to pass back to Sue now.
Okay, so we've had a little bit about the PE School Sports funding, but what I just want to go briefly through this with you, so you do have an understanding of what schools have got to report on, and probably now why they are actually bringing those children back. So schools have got to report on the percentage of pupils meeting the 3 national curriculum requirements. So it's not just about swimming 25 metres now. They have got to report on using a range of strokes effectively and performing safe self-rescue in different water-based situations. They have got to report this from their pupils from Year 6 cohort. So if they do bring their pupils in years 3, 4 and 5, they have got to keep those assessment standards until that child is in Year 6. So that's what they've got to report on as part of that PE School Sports Premium. Possible use of funding. They can use it to upskill their staff, so they can use it for professional development, for instance, the National Curriculum Training Programme. They can use it for top-up swimming lessons, so it could be that they bring those pupils back at the end of their school swimming term and top up with the lessons. Additional qualified swimming teachers to work with teachers to enhance or extend the current opportunities. And they can also use them to enter more challenges and competitions. So they can actually use it to attend a swim safe session. So it's meeting the aims of the safe self-rescue in different water-based situations. The school swimathon is going further and beyond the 25 metres. The big school swim, it's about celebrating the whole of the school swimming programme, and you can theme that to obviously safe self-rescue or going further and beyond the national curriculum requirements. And you can also use it for Aquasplash Festival, so that's bringing a competition element back into that school swimming criteria. The only thing that it cannot be used for is the core swimming offer. So a school has got to be providing school swimming out of their core budget before they can actually use this funding. And it can be used really to enhance that school swimming programme. So we've had one example that the school has put family fun sessions on. So it's getting the families there, the parents there who've probably never been into a pool before, getting them used to this pool environment. Also getting the children in the pool as well. So it's helping them have an understanding of the swimming. And from that, the parents have actually enrolled their pupils onto Learn to Swim programs within that centre. So again, it's having an effect on the bigger picture that you're encouraging the parents to enrol onto the Learn to Swim programme as well. Just going back to the National Curriculum Training Programme, we do have 2 courses, a support teacher of school swimming and teacher of school swimming. We also have other training opportunities for level 2 swimming teachers, teacher of school swimming and water safety CCD, to give them an insight into what the national curriculum is. And also we have a school swimming and water safety overview, which is free to view, and that's an online introduction to school swimming where anybody can attend. So what supporting resources do we offer to support you as providers, as swimming teachers? We have gone through the school swimming website, which I can't emphasise enough for you to go on there and look at all the resources that we do offer. There's everything for swimming teachers, leisure providers, anybody that actually delivers or is involved in school swimming. The Aquasplash Festival, we have just actually updated these. It is a water-based festival that you can run any time during your school swimming programme. It is linked to the competition framework, but the activity cards that's actually included in this pack can be used in your school swimming programme. They are different activities to deliver different core aquatic skills in a competition element. So again, it's getting those children moving, developing the core aquatic skills, and also developing one of those physical education aims of competition. So again, they are free to download. The festival pack, the full festival pack, not just the cards, and it can be actually downloaded from that website there. The campaign for runner support, which again is hopefully going to enhance the school swimming programme. Swim Safe, which is an outdoor safe self-rescue programme. The Big School Swim, which celebrates the whole of the school swimming programme, and obviously Drowning Prevention Week, where we are in partnership with the Royal Lifesaving Society to help support, obviously, safe self-rescue. So other useful links, and you can see these are the web links to them. The other thing at the bottom is the contact details. If there's anything regarding school swimming, a question, a query that you want help, that you want support, if you email us at schoolswimming@swimming.org, that's where we can pick that up and get back to you as soon as possible. So anything, please don't hesitate to contact us on that. So if there is any questions, as we've actually finished the webinar for today, so before we actually leave, if there is any questions that you want to ask regarding anything to do with school swimming, regarding the webinar, what we've gone through, that you're not quite sure of, if you want to either do it through the chat or unmute your microphones, then please ask away.
So I have a question. Would you say that when the lesson's set up, that it would be acceptable to run like an award 1 and 2 combined class and like a 3 and 4? Do you know what I mean? Is that okay to do that? Because I just found in my experience that the setup that schools are expecting of operators, that actually to have that layout prior to the new school coming to you would be really helpful. Would you say that's okay to do?
It is okay to do, yeah, that's no problem. The only problem with school swimming is that you've probably got a number of different abilities in one class. And again, it's what provision you've got then on poolside. If you've got a level 2 swimming teacher, or probably 2 level 2 swimming teachers and the support from the school staff, that's brilliant because you can do that. If you've only probably got a level 2 swimming teacher and 1 supporting school teacher, then there is a problem because obviously you've got to maybe get 30 children into 2 groups, but there's nothing to say that you can't do it. It's just sort of like the ability of the children that come.
Cool, thanks, Sue. So it is just literally looking at what you've got and just going with it, risk assessing it, etc., but making it work for each school, and that can just look different each time.
Absolutely, yeah. And again, you know, what we're trying to do as well is encourage those schools to support on poolside.
Yeah.
Even if it's, you know, through the training, and again, once they're supporting, the ratios go down, the pupils get a better quality of lesson, it's easier for the level 2 swimming teacher because they've got support, and to be quite honest, it's easier for the whole school swimming programme as well.
Cool, thanks, Sue.
No problem. Anybody else would like to ask a question?
Just following on from what Lauren said, I mean, we normally have 1 level 2 teacher allocated per 10 swimmers with our schools. So they would be put into sort of broad groups that would be like award 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4, because they kind of get split into that non-swimmer, beginner, improver levels, because generally the schools bring like a class of 30, and we would provide 3 level 2 teachers with that, and then any support from the actual schools is then a bonus to bring those ratios down. So yeah, we would be, obviously you kind of have to just generally put them into their ability levels as best as you can, and you're never going to get to a point where you've got award 1 to 6, all the children being taught in separate groups.
Thank you, Bobby. That's brilliant. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we all know every school swimming programme is delivered different. So again, it's what you've got to work with on the pool side. So yeah, thanks for that contribution, Bobby.
I mean, that is great. I can remember when I was teaching schools, I once had 38 pupils to me and 2 to the school teacher, because she was terrified. So I ended up with 38 children. So the thought of having 3 level 2s and 10 each, I think that is fantastic, absolutely brilliant. Love that.
Yeah, we have it in place where we, just as a matter of what we do with the bookings, is that they will be allocated a level 2 teacher per 10 pupils.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That is really good. That's really good. I'm liking that. So has anybody else got any solutions to this? How does everybody else do it? Oh, dead quiet.
I'm Andy, it's Colette.
Hey, Colette.
We're very similar, I think, was it Bobby, in that we assess an ability group on the first week, and we usually have a minimum of 2 level 2 teachers for that, and then we look at whether additional resources are required for the second week, so that we know what we're dealing with, in effect, for the remainder of the term. We have a few difficulties in that you may get, for 1 half-hour, a class of 30, and then for the next half-hour you get a school that brings 12. And it's having, you know, sometimes you just having to balance what you do with the staff and how you manage it.
Yeah.
With what we do, because of that, obviously with schools, if they're hiring teachers, they have to hire a minimum of an hour's pool time. So they'll bring, if they're bringing classes, they'll bring 2 classes, 30 swim at a time. So then we allocate those resources right from the beginning. Because generally with our schools, we support them with like a questionnaire to give out to all their parents prior to coming swimming for the first time, and it works them through in terms of, because often, as we know, parents say, oh, my child can swim 2 lengths, when actually all they do is travel, and it's paddle. So it goes through in terms of determining whether they can actually travel or whether they can actually swim recognised strokes. So that the schools come to us with just a loose, like a pre-knowledge of how many children they've got in kind of a non-swimmer category and so forth. So that means that first week, rather than getting each child in individually, taking time to assess, we generally just spend some time talking to them, because they are at that age where if they are having swimming lessons, they'll tell you if they already come to your centre and have swimming lessons. So we spend some time talking with the swimmers before, finding out who comes swimming regularly and who doesn't, and we pretty much then just anyone who is really not sure and hasn't swam, or they say they need aids, they kind of get started straight away, and then we go through to make sure that first week they actually swim, as opposed to like a long time ago it used to be get each child in, everyone assesses, and then they go away. So all they've done is sort of get in for a minute or so each, and then they don't actually start swimming or learning anything until week 2. Because we find with schools, again, I think someone previously mentioned, they're doing the minimum that they have to. We do a block booking discount. We book 10 weeks or more in a single term, so it actually works out financially better the more that they come. That's an incentive to get them to book in minimum of a 10-week block with those same swimmers. So we know that we've potentially only got 10 weeks with those children, or sometimes less if they're going to swap halfway through. So we want to get the most out of the lessons right from the first week.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's frustrating. Sue and I have seen a lot of school swimming lessons, and it frustrates the blazes out of me to see sheep dips where they get it one side and just walk to the other side, and that's it, like you say, Bobby. That's it for their assessment.
Yeah, I mean, it is frustrating. I think generally, if the child is saying, I can't swim, or I need my armbands, or I haven't been to the pool before, you know, the last thing I want to do is go, well, get in and prove it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing is actually, you know, you can tell that these children are non-swimmers. I'm not going to make them all get in one by one in front of all of their classmates and prove to me that they can't swim. We're just going to start a lesson.
One of the things that, no, absolutely. One of the things that I've questioned Sue about is, with regards to the premium funding, is whether schools could bring their swimmers the year before they're due to come, so that they have, it's not their core session, but they get over the challenges of, I've never been to a swimming pool before, I'm terrified, let's just get them in, have some fun, not structured, well, structured but not structured to the charter, but just get over that water confidence side of things. And I can't remember, Sue, is that allowed with the funding, as it's to enhance it, but it's before going to the lessons?
Yes. I mean, obviously, you can use it for that, because as long as those swimmers that you're taking are the swimmers that are going to go, if you take them in July, those are swimmers are going to go in September. So, like you say, it is getting them used to the water confidence. So then, by the time they hopefully go in September, you can start and build on that. So we know in the school swimming programme, when they first started, they've never been in a swimming pool before, how difficult it is to get them in, especially when you're looking after a whole class as well. So yes, it can be used.
Yeah, I think with going back to like that first week, that's what, you know, I found in terms of when watching school swimming, if those children are then, like you say, getting in the water going, yeah, I definitely can't swim and I'm uncomfortable and, you know, not really wanting to get in, then actually all you're doing is then getting them back out. They sit on the side and watch everyone else, and then you've got to start all over again with them the following week. Whereas right at the start of the lesson, you can identify those that can't swim or are nervous, and you can straight away assign them to a teacher, and they then have that full half an hour to do all the early water confidence things and just encourage them into the water, even if all they achieve that first week is that they get in and they move around, and that actually then next week they will get in straight away and they can, you know, start progressing straight away. So yeah, I think one thing that we've done with all of our teachers across all of our sites is try and get away from that traditional, let's get everyone in individually and note down what ability they are, you know, because we're in 30 minutes. If someone needs to change groups, then you just change groups, and you need to get the school staff involved to help you do that while you're running the session. But rather than everyone sort of just getting 1 minute out of that first week.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
Yeah. Mandy, one of the other things we offer to the schools is we do go out to the new classes and talk to them about what is going to be involved in their swimming lesson. So effectively, they have a dry lesson, which is particularly useful for the younger ones that come swimming with us.
Yeah, and that's one of the things actually Sue and I have been talking about a lot over the last few days, is keeping in mind that we want schools to take school swimming seriously, and the Safe Self-Rescue being a major part of it. We're looking at, and it would be good actually to get your feedback on the thoughts on this, we're looking at whether it's feasible to put in, whether you call it an additional award or whether it's just another assessment sheet, aimed at school teachers, aimed at schools, so that they would deliver a dry side session looking at the flags, and they should be doing this anyway, in my opinion, looking at how to use the flags, you know, what the flags are about, pool rules, running on the pool side, general water safety. Would that be something that would be of value to you guys, do you think, if we were to devise something along those lines?
Definitely.
Yeah. That's what we thought, but as we've got you guys here, we thought I'd just ask the question.
Thank you, everybody, for taking part in this webinar, and thank you for your feedback and questions. I think we've got some quite useful developments that we can do. So thank you again. Like I say, if there is anything pressing that you want to ask us after this webinar, please use the schoolswimming@swimming.org email address, and we will get back to you.